the U.S. government is investing heavily into the critical metal space, including lithium. Why is this sector so important, and what does the future hold for lithium? We're here to discuss this topic and take a deep dive into electric vehicle battery metals with Gianni Kovacevic. He is the founder and director of LithiumBank. Our audience may know you, Gianni, as the chairman of Copper Bank, but we'll be talking about copper in another segment today. We're focusing exclusively on lithium and other critical electric vehicle battery metals. Welcome back to the show.
Very timely, David, and that's what we're going to talk about. People would have seen the headline where Elon Musk about 2 weeks ago said, hey right. Guys, if you're in business, if you want to make a lot of money, get into the lithium game, get into the lithium business. Now, I don't believe he's actually referring to going and doing hard rock mining and going and doing big evaporation ponds in Chile and Argentina. What he's talking about is the technology, where the future of that business is going. And what I'm talking about, and what I believe, this is just my own speculation, is direct lithium extraction, where the lithium comes from these briny water, various different chemicals, namely lithium hydroxide, and that is what's going to go into in billions and billions of batteries. And why am I confident this is happening? Because there are tens of thousands of people working on this. They're no longer at the last mile. They're no longer at the last 100 meters. It's there. It's happening in real time. The future is now, and this is a big headline, and that's what LithiumBank is all about.
Let's start with some other big headlines. So I'm just going to read something from CNN here. Biden administration making $3 billion investment in lithium-ion battery production. This news came out today. The first paragraph, President Joe Biden is building on his electric vehicle goal with a $3 billion investment Monday aimed at boosting the U.S. supply of lithium-ion batteries through the bipartisan infrastructure package. Now, here is a statement from a Biden advisor, Mitch Landrieu. And Landrieu, he said that to help make electric vehicles work, we need also to increase the production of lithium-ion batteries, and we need responsible and sustainable domestic sourcing of the critical materials used to make lithium-ion batteries, such as lithium, cobalt, nickel, and graphite. Shed some color for us now, Gianni. When he's talking about domestic sourcing of critical metals, he's not referring to, obviously, metals from abroad. I mean, those aren't domestic, but why is domestic sourcing so important? And importantly, where is the lithium coming from now?
Well, that's exactly right, David. They want to have a North America solution. And so that's where this direct lithium extraction technology is really, they're blazing the trail there on more than one project, more than one company. And so what he's referring to is having a cooperation. Canada also stepped up and said that they're going to be allocating some $2 billion to various different critical elements. And the reason is very simple. We as a global industry, everyone, we are going to be making countless billions of lithium-ion batteries. Now, you can argue the chemistry is going to change for various different types of batteries, and you can look at solid-state batteries are coming in the medium to distant future, but the common bond is always going to be copper and lithium. And we need to source, from what the world is producing in lithium today, that's going to grow by 10x in the next 8 to 10 years. So your question was, where's the lithium coming from today? Well, traditionally, it comes from those large evaporation ponds that everyone would be very well familiar with. I'm talking about Chile and Argentina. And that is a process where these large pools of briny water evaporate over a period of 6 to 12 months at high elevation, evaporating to a salt, which is then put through a chemical process to create lithium carbonate or lithium hydroxide. Another form of lithium would be from hard rock mining. We're talking about Australia, different parts of North America, where it's your conventional open pit mining, where the grade might be 1% to 2%, and that might be in a form of spodumene. And then that is mined, concentrated down to a form of lithium. And then that too is then brought into a chemical that can be put into a lithium-ion battery. But that's not the future. The future is going to occur in direct lithium extraction, where you can take this briny water. So using the LithiumBank example, our concessions, which we acquired during the bear market, we have over 3 million acres of lithium brine leases in the province of Alberta, Canada, and Saskatchewan. And this is the I believe the number one driver is a future technology and industry for the province of Alberta. They've been very vocal at the premier level, also in the federal level in Canada. Why? Because so many different technology companies are looking at this, and they're at the last 50 meters. So what's the difference? If you're in Chile and Argentina, the grade is very high, 1,000, 2,000 ppm, parts per million, where the briny water might be 80 or 100 or 120 parts per million. So one might say, well, the grade is very low. Isn't that bad? But there's a chemical process, a very simple one, where we're able to lift the grade by 10 or 20x, 30x, and then the grade is bumped up to something like 1,000 or 2,000 ppm, similar to what you would find in South America. And then you're moving a lot less water, and that water is coming with a very small footprint. Picture in the theater of your mind, you have two wells, one well that's taking the water up and another well that's going to put the water back into the reservoir. And it goes through this chemical process. And that's where the more than one solution. In fact, there already is more than one solution where a company like an automotive corporation or a battery technology company or a chemical technology company, and they're going to have various different products, which they're going to be layering into these billions and billions of batteries. But where is the Saudi Arabia of this type of deposit or reservoir?
Great question.
It's in Alberta, Canada. And what we have staked is roughly the size of Rhode Island, David. That's how big the project is. This is a tier 1 mega project. We put out a resource when LithiumBank was a private company. We put out our maiden inferred resource on our first project, Sturgeon Lake. Now we have Hatch Engineering that's coming up with the first economic model, and that's going to be presented to the public in the next, 60 to 90 days. And that we're going to be able to fit into a comparables table with our peer group. There are other companies that are doing this type of technology that have this type of deposit and resource. And what's the differentiator for LithiumBank? We raised our money during the bear market as a private company. Our last round, which was in September of last year, was $1.50 a share. After LithiumBank presents all these studies to the market, we are still going to have $5 million in cash in the till, which means we don't need to raise money. And the most important thing, it only has 37 million shares outstanding. There are 3 companies in our peer group that have a market cap in excess of 1 billion Canadian dollars. So if you take our 37 million shares outstanding and are trading in the sort of the low dollar range here, that is, in my view, the opportunity. And if people remember the Copper Bank story, which is now Faraday Copper, I was the largest shareholder. I was the chairman. I'm no longer involved with the company. I remain the second largest shareholder of Faraday Copper. And it was known for having massive amounts of insider buying. So if people look at now, LithiumBank is 1 month old, and you can see the participation from the local group. But our focus is on, don't argue with the customer, David. We want to show and grow the resource and let them solve the puzzle at the end of the day for the final product that they need for their type of batteries and their chemical process.
You did IPO recently. I'm looking at the price of lithium carbonate, right? It went up 70% year to date. It's tapered off a little bit from its highs from a few months ago, but it's still near its all-time highs. Was the timing of the IPO coincident with the price of lithium?
Well, we've been working for 4 years very quietly. And anytime that you're creating a company with an idea, in this case, it's of course, a lot of your listeners follow junior mining, and it's very nice to participate in these types of companies. But when you understand the DNA of a junior mining company, there's many different moving parts. One, which is often lacking, is focus. I'm involved with one company at a time, and I saw the window. I saw that the demand for lithium was going to grow by 1,000% in this decade. You want to be in the lithium business. What you don't want to be is telling the chemical and the technology company what kind of chemicals they're going to put into their batteries. I don't care about that. I provide them the lithium. They will make that decision. So when this company was structured, there's a good saying, and I believe it was Jim Grant or maybe it was someone else, and he says like this, I'm paraphrasing here: successful investing is having everybody agree with you later. Of course, the timing is important, and the market is nervous now. The lithium price, in my view, is not sustainable at these elevated levels, but we don't need these elevated levels. This is something that's been driven because of overwhelming demand and not enough production, which is why so many companies are going to be assisting people and groups like LithiumBank to get that last 50 meters in this race to provide what is, really going to be a growth industry for the rest of your life.
The price of lithium has risen more than 4 times since 2021. So, I mean, that's a huge growth factor for any metal, let alone something that's not very liquid. So tell us what happened in the last 2 years, year and a half.
Well, it finally caught up. People, my friends at Benchmark Mineral Intelligence have been telling the industry, now I'm talking about the automotive industry. They talk a big game that we're going to make all these electric cars, but where are you going to source the materials?
Right.
And Simon Morris, who's the head of Benchmark, he was actually saying these guys are going to have to do a Henry Ford. They are actually going to have to own the mine. Because if you follow junior mining in this death cycle where they don't have the ability to get financed and the capex is so high, there's going to have to be an alliance between those that have the resource and those that require the resource. And I'm talking about the automotive industry. You've already seen that happen with various companies, with Ford and different people. And of course, the most relevant one we'll quote now is, Elon Musk telling people, many people, not just one company, but not just car companies, but technology and chemical companies, get into the lithium business. And I firmly believe, this is my opinion, they are not going to get into hard rock mining. They're not going to get into the quagmire of Chilean and Argentinian politics of salars, even though there has been activity there. They are looking at doing brines, underwater reservoirs, not just in Alberta, not just in Saskatchewan, there are other jurisdictions, but the Saudi Arabia of that type deposit just happens to be in Alberta, Canada, and where we're situated.
Gianni, let's come back to the lithium industry and the automotive industry. Elon Musk and other automakers, Tesla and other automakers, they're looking at the lithium price and they're thinking to themselves, our input costs just went up 4 times in the last 18 months. What's their next move?
Their next move is to get into the business. So if we were to do and I'm being a little bit cheeky here, but if this company, which has a $1 trillion market cap, I'm talking about Tesla, of course, if they were to actually say, you know what, put 100 people, 100 really smart people on this technology, just get me 4 or 5 types of end product that we can work with at the next stage to see what's going to work for our lithium ion batteries. I'm not being cheeky, but in 12 to 24 months, you could see production, massive amounts of production. They have to have this type of effort. And I believe that's what's happening in real time. I believe there is this initiative, and we've seen this type of activity where these companies are getting involved in not the lithium mining business, David, not the lithium evaporation business, in the DLE. What is the final solution there? And that's what they're going to have to do, because we know that they want to make this massive amount of vehicles. How big is the vehicle market in the world? It's around 90 million units. Maybe it's a little bit less after COVID, but it's somewhere there. And everyone talks about having 20 and 30% of the new vehicles that are made eventually going more than 50% in this decade. How are we going to make all these millions of cars? That's a great point. I mean,
Biden's plan of having half the entire automotive fleet of the U.S. be electric by 2030. That's a separate discussion on its own. But I mean, very quickly, Gianni, how could that happen?
They're going to have to do something like a Manhattan Project. It's going to have to be all hands on deck, and they're going to be giving this. What is this? This $3 billion the United States has allocated, $2 billion in Canada. This is nothing. This is a rounding error. You're going to see something much larger. And why? Why are corporations going to get involved and solve this last little piece? Because the prize is so big. And it reminds me of back in 1937-38 when they first discovered oil in Saudi Arabia. And Harold Ickes actually sent a team of geologists led by de Gaulle, the foremost geologist in America, and they were sent to assess the size of Saudi Arabia's oil deposits. And the team came back and said, "Sir, I don't think you understand. What they have in Saudi Arabia is the single greatest prize in all of history." It was unbelievable. And if you can, solve this last piece, this is the new prize, is being able to simplify the battery, having chemistries that'll work that with products that we can readily deliver to the market. And I'm talking about aluminum, copper, lithium. and at the margin, nickel and maybe some other products. And
Yes.
Those are the things like cobalt and manganese. They're the ones that are going to be substituted and tweaked, and the proportions are going to change. We can provide this lithium to the market. It is going to grow by 1,000% in this decade and probably by 2,000% by the end of the next decade. And it's going to come from the future extraction technologies in that industry. And it's going to be led by many corporations. And that's actually happening right now in real time within the backdrop of what is a little bit of a nervous market.
Are you surprised that the governments are stepping in and making investments in this area? I mean, why not let the private sector take care of it? I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just wondering why the governments have a vested interest in increased lithium production at home. Like you mentioned, most lithium production is happening abroad, and I understand maybe this might present a security risk, but keep in mind that the major users of lithium right now are private auto manufacturers like Tesla. Elon Musk could buy some mines here in the US or in Canada, like yourself, and the issue will be sorted out by the private sector. Why does Biden need to step in?
Well, there's a well-circulated chart right now. People may have seen it where it says which country sourced battery. And of course, this is a bar chart. And who's the biggest provider of all these? It's China. China across the board. Why? Why do they want to get involved in this business? That's because we, as an industry, like we in North America, are beholden to other people, to other countries, to other jurisdictions. This is something you need to have the independence. At least get on your way to this independence. It is there. It is possible. It's going to be. There's something else that uranium, for example, they don't have the ability to enrich uranium.
Right.
For nuclear power plants and things like that. This is something that is done typically in Kazakhstan and Russia. These things cannot change in a month's notice. These things take many, many years. And so this is why I believe we are in a time already during the Trump administration. This was already a time of having more independence. This has continued, even though you have now Biden's the Democratic Party is now in charge. And this theme has continued. I don't think that's changed very much at all. This having independence. And for these things, I'm talking about independence from China. So this is why it has to be a North America-wide solution. You could call it a pan-European American solution, and that's where 40% of the world's cars are made between Mexico, America, and Europe. They have to have this solution, and of course they have all this lip service. They're talking about having X% as electric cars. It's already 2022. How's this going to occur by 2030? So it's an all hands on deck. And it's a fantastic opportunity. I call it a speculation, but it's a speculation with a very interesting backdrop. It's going to be multi-pulsed, both for copper and for lithium. Lithium's in pulse number 3 now, copper in pulse 2 from its lows. And this is going to continue. This is not stopped. And I think this is a trade that's going to continue, even though right now there is nervousness in the market and people just have to, stay alert and be aware.
Let me just close on the price. You said earlier in the interview that you don't think the current price of lithium is sustainable. I'm curious as to why not and what you think is a fair value down the line.
Well, the commodity is up 5x, we'll call it.
Yes.
And when more of these products are going to be able to be delivered to the market, and if some of these companies are actually going to do a Henry Ford and own an operation. And for a company like Tesla with a $1 trillion market cap, for them to say, let's allocate $1 billion to have our own process, once they have their own process, David, and they have a product or a production facility that can produce 30 or 40 or 50,000 tons of LCE per year, they're going to be independent. They're not going to require the price. But that's also going to put less pressure on the rest of the industry. And that's where I think there's an opportunity right now, because we at LithiumBank, we're not going to be building a big production facility. This is something that
is that kind of your well, you already went public, but is that kind of your plan down the line to be acquired by an auto manufacturer? Partnership
is the key word there, or an acquisition, but it's not going to be anywhere here. We have just gotten started. Our first economic model will come out in the next 60, 90 days. And we have a peer group. People can go and download our presentation or just look at the other, what is the market value and how far along the value chain are some of these other companies. We're unknown. We've been public for 1 month. And that's why the job is to educate the market on what we do, what we're doing, how we're doing it. And our business model is not to create a big production facility, but to partner with someone that has the means to be able to do this production facility.
Excellent.
And that's our focus. And, you know, I think Alberta is a fantastic jurisdiction to do that. We have a very supportive government atmosphere there. And stay tuned. I think people will continue to hear a lot more. Remember the words DLE, direct lithium extraction. And where are those types of deposits? There are 5 or 6 places in the world. Alberta, with, of course, I've already noted, has the largest such reservoirs.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to developments from your company and more news out of the lithium market. Thank you, and congrats again on your IPO. Welcome back to the show, and I'll speak to you again next time.
A lot of hard work to come, and let's monitor the market, and let's see what happens. But copper is your barometer. Let's see what happens there. 10% correction so far. Still not a bear market.
All right. Not yet a bear market. We'll keep tabs on it. Thank you for watching Kitco News. I'm David Lin. Stay tuned.